first question we have for you is, what historical figure do you most identify with?
Historical figure I most identify with. I think it would be General Eisenhower, Dwight D. Eisenhower. I admire General Eisenhower for the way he ran the Allied forces in World War II. And he was a good president.
He was president?
Yes.
Yes, after Truman and before Kennedy.
Okay. That's a good answer. That, I think. Okay. All right, Ben?
What is your most prized or treasured possession?
It's right here. Oh, you knew this.
Yeah, we did know
That's right,
it.
yeah.
We did
It's
know.
not the keys. Not the
It's
keys.
not his keys.
It's this little rock that my daughter gave me when she was about 2.5 years old, and I've carried it with me ever since in a pocket full of keys and change, and it has gotten smaller, but it's gotten polished and smooth, and my daughter is now 31 years old, and so I've been carrying this for almost 30 years.
What kind of rocket is it again? Like what type?
Oh, this is a siltstone?
Siltstone, okay.
Okay.
All right, my turn again? Okay. So, this one might be a hard one, but what is your most memorable moment out of all your classes?
Memorable moment in all my classes. I have two memorable moments. One is personally embarrassing to myself, which I'm sure you really want to know. But I think I'll go with the second one. You can add that question at the end. I think I'll go with the second one. It's when we cooked bacon in class. We were talking about breakfast one morning. It was my green class in the morning. And we were talking about, you should have a proper breakfast. And what's a proper breakfast? And I went through it, and I mentioned bacon. And virtually the entire class went, bacon. Because bacon is meat candy, basically.
Yeah.
And so it says, can we have bacon in class? And I said, there's no way I can justify bacon in class. I mean, I have to think of an earth science reason for it. So I went home and talked to the smartest person in the world that I know, my wife. And love you, honey. And she suggested that we do this. And I thought, okay, so bacon, when crisp, can be an example of the elastic rebound theory. That the bacon will bend and bend and bend and bend, but if you go too far, it'll snap. So I said, okay, I can justify bacon in class. Then my wife made whole wheat rolls. I brought in orange juice and hard-boiled eggs just for that class. And then the bacon was already cooked, and I just put it in an electric fry pan to warm it up. And honestly, the smell of the bacon in this classroom wafted out in the halls, and people were stopping and staring in here wondering, why is there bacon in here? And we enjoyed a breakfast, a proper breakfast, and I demonstrated it, and I said, I'll never do this again, and I haven't, but bacon in the classroom, yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
It's amazing how you could link that to earth science.
Well, it took a little bit of an effort, but
Yeah,
I
I
love
would-
bacon too, so
So you were trying to.
I was, yeah.
All right. What do you do to make your class different from other classes and other teachers?
I try and make it fun. Now, I can't say that other teachers don't try to make their class fun, but I intentionally try to inject humor and fun into it. That is both part of my nature, who I am, and I figure if I'm having fun, very likely that enthusiasm can bleed out into the other people and they can have fun. And I've been doing it long enough to know what works and what doesn't. I tell the same jokes every year, so I don't have to make up new ones every year. But it all works. It all works. And the music. I incorporate music into the way that I teach in ways that are probably atypical for a science teacher, let alone other teachers. And that's fine, but I think those two things.
I agree.
All right. Yeah, I would definitely. Yeah. Okay. So, if you had to cast the role of yourself in a movie about you, who would you cast as you?
Bruce Springsteen, because one, he could do a real good job on my songs. We didn't have much of a similar life growing up, although he came from a blue-collar family, and so did I. My dad worked in a factory. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. But I've thought about this, and Bruce Springsteen definitely, because I think he could do real justice to some of my song parodies.
Oh, I would definitely say
I
that. Yeah.
definitely
agree. I like the boss.
That's a great choice.
I would-
I wouldn't even think of Bruce Springsteen. At all. That's
He
great.
could-
That is a question I've thought of the answer to before, so it's not like I had to go, no, Bruce Springsteen.
So if Bruce is out there, call him up.
Okay, if you could try any other job besides being a geologist and a great teacher, what would it be?
Not a geologist and not a teacher. I've had lots of different jobs. Now that I've been a teacher, I think it would be something that would have to be with the public, and maybe politics. That's something that I may see in my future when I get out of teaching, but I really feel called to public service, and teaching is a form of public service, and to carry that further into politics, not on a national level or anything like that, but to do something locally, because that's really where it really matters. People care about what happens. They want the roads paved, things like that. So maybe politics.
Yeah, okay. This one, I love this question. What is the song that describes you the most?
The song that describes me the most. Oh boy, I have sung so many songs. It'd be a John Denver song. That describes me. Well, I'll tell you the song that lifts my spirits every time I hear it. I used to be able to sing it, but I've lost the high notes. It's "The Eagle and the Hawk" by John Denver. It's about the freedom that both an eagle and a hawk feel as they are flying over the mountains and all that. And when I hear that song and when I attempt to sing it, and I'm really warmed up, I get a sense of that feeling. So it's not really descriptive, but it fills my spirit, and so for that reason,
Yeah.
I'd give that answer.
All right, yeah. Works. It's a good answer.
What is your favorite joke that you like to tell?
My favorite joke is probably the joke. Well, I have two favorite jokes. One is either the eats, shoots, and leaves with a panda, or it's the one about the woman who had identical twin boys and she gave them up for adoption, and one was adopted by a family in Spain and one was adopted by a family in Egypt, and years go by and she never finds out about her kids, and then one day a letter arrives and it's from the son Juan, and he says, "My name is Juan, that my parents named me this, and thank you for giving birth to me, and I've had a wonderful family." The woman started crying because she now had something from one son, but she didn't have it from the other, and her husband says, "Why are you crying?" And she says, "Because I have a letter from Juan, and I don't have a letter from my other son." He says, "Come on, you've seen Juan, you've seen them all." I like puns. I like puns.
Wow.
You've seen one, you've seen
Yeah,
them all,
'cause
because they're identical twin boys.
Yeah.
So much better when you explain it.
Yeah,
it
it
is.
makes the joke a lot
It makes
better.
the joke a lot better.
Okay, what, besides all the many, many talents you have, what talent would you like to have?
Talent. I'd like to be able to dance better. My wife. Don't look at me like that. No, I'm not. I'm really not. I am not. I am a song and prance man, but not song and dance man. I always.
I don't know. You
get to-
danced for your Lady Gaga song.
Yes, I
Yes.
can. But that's been practiced. And the thing is, if I practice long enough, I can actually fake it. But the getting out of your brain and just moving with the music, I find that really difficult to do. My wife and I practice and practice and practice, and I am still in my brain remembering left foot, right foot, left.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to get comfortable enough in those physical movements that I can just let go and enjoy myself. It's happened a few times, but I'd really like to be able to be better at that.
Yeah.
It would give joy to me and my wife.
I do like that. If you could have dinner with 5 famous people, dead, alive, cartoon, etc., who would they be?
Cartoon characters,
Yeah.
okay. I'll stay away from that. Who would I want to have? Well, let me see. 5 people. You could have made this question easier and picked 3. I wouldn't feel so much
We can
pressure.
do 3. You can do 3.
You can do 3.
Well, okay. So I would like to have. I'd like to have President Obama. I think he's
Okay.
very smart, very well educated. I'd like to have that. I'd like to have the comedian George Carlin, who is he's passed away now, But he was also very bright, and he had very smart humor, along with being a potty mouth. But he had smart humor. Okay, so I like that. So I have politics, I have comedy, and the boss. I'll go with Bruce, who will be playing me in my biography.
So this wasn't a question that we had written down, but if you had to make something for that dinner, what would you make?
If I had to make something for that dinner, I'd make my grilled chicken wings that I do out in the backyard. I'd make the grilled chickens. I do that every summer.
I would love to. I love chicken wings.
Chicken wings are great.
They're amazing.
This isn't a podcast about chicken wings, though. So.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of being a geologist?
My favorite part of being a geologist was being able to look at the landscape and know and understand deeper what's going on. I've always been a scientist. I've always wondered why things are. And by pursuing degrees in geology and becoming a geologist, I could look at a landscape and I could see deeper than just, oh, the hill goes up, the valley goes down. I could say, well, that's a U-shaped valley, so a glacier was here. And looking at the height of those hills on either side, the glacier had to be at least 1,000 feet thick here. And it just gives a deeper understanding of the beautiful world and planet that we live on. So that's it. It was being able to understand the world we live in on a much deeper level.
That's a very deep answer. I like that was one of your
Deep like a valley.
Deep
that was
like
a
a
good one.
U-shaped
Deep like a
valley.
valley. What was your favorite geological moment as a geologist?
My favorite geological moment. It occurred in 1996. It was the first time I visited the Grand Canyon. It was almost a religious experience for me. We were out in Arizona, visiting with my in-laws, and my wife and my daughter. My daughter at the time was about 8 years old, and we come up to the Grand Canyon, we park, and we get closer and closer to the rail. And honestly, I was overwhelmed. I was at one of the most important geological sites on the planet. You can see it from space. And I just stood there, and I just held onto that railing, and I felt so connected to the planet right there in that moment. It was just profound. Are these good answers?
I don't mean these are really good
Great answers.
I don't mean to ruin the moment, but I thought you were gonna say, and then I fell. I thought you were gonna say.
I'm not going to go for the easy joke, and I didn't fall, so because I never joke about my dog or grades or falling.
Dew
Or
point,
falling.
relative humidity.
Oh, yep.
Dew point
And
relative.
well, earthquake is to do with grades. So, okay. So, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
The earliest memory I have, I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer because I grew up in the 60s and the space program was going on. And I found out that most of the astronauts, although they had been military pilots, they had degrees in aeronautical engineering and mechanical engineering. So I said, I want to be an aeronautical engineer and study flight and planes and all that because that will make me best situated to become a pilot and then therefore become an astronaut. That changed once I hit about 5'10", which was probably about age 14. I was tall. I'm 6'4" now. All the astronauts were small people because they're small little capsules. They couldn't have large people. We didn't have the shuttle then. So that sort of went out. And when I was in 9th grade, though, which I'm still a kid then, I was lucky enough to be in New York State, and I took the Regents Earth Science class. And in taking the Regents Earth Science class, I said, I want to be a geologist. Yeah, I'm learning astronomy. Cool. Yeah, I'm learning about meteorology. That's fine. I want to be a geologist. I want to be a geologist. That was on my yearbook when I graduated. Plans a career as a geologist, and here I am.
Wow.
Here I am.
If you could teach any kind of different subject, what would it be?
Social studies, history, because I have an avid interest in history, and I think the way that I teach would lend itself also in a social studies classroom. I could write song parodies about historical events. I could act just pretty much the same way. I think I would be constrained if I were teaching math. I don't have. I don't have. I'm sure I could come up with some. But it's just a different subject matter. I don't do foreign languages very well, so I think social studies.
You'd have
would
to
be
sing in another language. So
Yeah, that might be.
Para bailar la bamba.
there you go.
It's a
All
Lo
right.
siento.
Uh, if you could invent something, what would it do?
If I could invent something, what it would do would be remove salt from salt water. That would be the most important invention in the history of mankind. I think it would rival the invention of the wheel, because there is a finite amount of fresh water on the planet, and almost an infinite amount of salt water. Salt water we can't use for drinking purposes and all that. If we could find a cheap way to remove salt from water, that would be the most important thing. I challenge my students every year. Do this. Be the person who invents this, and you'll be the most famous person who ever lived.
Wow.
But that would be the invention,
Yeah.
if I could invent something.
That's awesome. Okay,
That's-
I'm going to ask a very political question. If you were to become president of the United States, what would your first step be?
My first step would be to... Oh, boy. My first step would be to bring my wife into the Oval Office, and we'd stand in the center of the presidential seal in the Oval Office, and I'd hold her and hug her, and I'd kiss her and say, "We made it."
You're getting a lot of brownie points in this.
Yeah,
in
you're
this
right. Yes.
interview
I love you,
right
sweetheart.
here.
We'll make sure your wife sees this.
I do try and stay away from more political...
That's
Yeah.
the, I was
that would
thinking-
identify me politically, because
Yes.
I don't want people's expectations of me to be affected. I don't want
Yes.
I don't want people to have expectations of me based on what they think a person with my politics has.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I try and stay away from that.
Right. I was thinking you'd ask all the security or the security people to line up, and you'd give them all high fives. That's what I was thinking you'd answer. Something.
That would be the
silly.
second thing.
That'd
Yeah,
be the second
that'd
thing.
be the second thing.
Or I'd pull out the guitar and I'd write a song parody about
About being
Photos.
president.
about
I
being
like that.
president.
And then you'd sing them.
And I'd sing them.
Wow.
And they'd have to stay because I'm the president.
Exactly. They couldn't even leave. If you could, okay, this is another pretty kind of political question, but not really. If you could change one thing in society today, what would that be?
The lack of civility. I am involved politically, both with the local political party as a member of the committee. I comment frequently on national newspapers and local papers politically on things, especially education-related things. I've probably contributed to some of the lack of civility, but I really try and catch myself. There's such nastiness, and part of it is because of the internet culture, because you can be anonymous, and
You don't have to live up to it.
and you say things that you wouldn't say to someone's face. A lot of people do that, and so I would hope that there could be more civility. I don't know how that would happen, but
Yeah.
that would be something
Yeah.
I'd hope for.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that's a really
I
good
was
answer.
expecting something about as amazing as that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I was thinking you'd make a joke about it, but that was a great answer.
You
Add
know,
that to the list.
look,
Yeah.
I'm
Doesn't joke about
hopefully I'm
society.
coming across as a person who has a sense of humor in this.
Oh yeah.
But
Yes.
I am a deeper thinker than some people think. People see me as funny and all that, and including the students. But when we get to important issues, I have a lot of thought. I mean, I tend to like being this way because people underestimate me, and then when I can speak seriously about things, people go, "Oh, that's a
Yeah,
really
like-
good answer.
Yeah.
I thought you'd make a joke." No, and I'm not picking on you, Ben, but
No, yeah,
you
I
know,
understand. Yes.
people who joke around a lot, very often they're viewed as just jokers, and they're not
There,
they're not
you
as
guys-
deep thinkers as they are. And
Yeah.
I think I am. I
Yeah.
think.
You definitely are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next,
Your turn.
Yeah, Mr. Flick, what was your most favorite memory that you said was embarrassing?
my most favorite memory when I was embarrassing. Okay, so I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and there was a field, because I lived sort of out in a rural area. There was a field, and there was tall grass there. And my friends and I were somersaulting through it. We had no
How's it feel?
idea where we were going. We were just somersaulting over and over again through this field. And on the end of the field, at the edge of the field, there was this ditch, which was right next to the house. And unfortunately, this ditch was, well, not all the houses were connected to sewers, okay? Some of the houses illegally dumped their stuff into this ditch along the road. So I am somersaulting, and I roll right into the ditch, and I'm covered with black stuff top to bottom. And I open up my eyes. There's these little white areas for the eyes, and I don't know what to, I'm covered with sewage, okay? And my friends, they are laughing hysterically, okay? So we're about a half a mile from home, so I have to walk along the road to my house covered with black sewage. And there are cars going by and beeping, laughing, laugh. And we had a long drive.
God.
We walk up the house, we walk up the driveway to the house, and my mom's out hanging up wash, and Dad is outside doing something in the garden. And they look at me, and Dad just starts laughing. And mom gets this angry look on her face. She's just about ready to lay into me. And then she just starts laughing too. It was just hysterical. She says, "Don't get near the wash. Don't get near the wash."
Oh my God.
And my brother is going, "Oh, you're going to be in trouble, Greg. You're going to be in trouble, Greg." And Dad hooks up the hose, and he just hoses me down. And it was embarrassing, and yet it was just, it was funny.
You had to walk along the road with all that.
That was the worst part. Getting up to the house though, and everyone just laughing. It was embarrassing at the moment, and then I started to laugh
It was
too.
kind,
I mean,
it was
just,
kind of like more relieving.
I could see myself through their eyes, and
Yeah.
okay, I've been embarrassed before, but that was probably the most intense embarrassment I'd ever felt. Everything is easier than that.
Yeah.
Everything is
Yeah.
easier than that.
Doesn't get much worse than being covered in sewage and walking down the road.
But I was a kid, and,
Yeah.
that was the first mistake I'd made that year. So
Yes, it was.
I haven't made one since.
So, is this? Do you have anything other questions other than this one? Well, the you know what I'm talking about. But like, do you have any other actual questions?
The double secret probation question.
You said that your second favorite moment was the bacon. What was your first favorite moment in class?
The embarrassing moment.
The
that you
most
said you had.
embarrassing.
Oh, that one. Okay, so it was during my last observation.
And I was covered in sewage.
And I was covered in. It was during my last observation. It was in this room. John Rice, who's the director of science, he was the one who was doing my last observation. This is in my third year of teaching. This is the one that's going to really make or break me and whether I get tenure and get a position here. And I'm standing up there, and the zipper on my pants breaks. Okay, so this guy is watching me, and I am unable to walk around to the front of the room because he'd see this and my students might see it, and I was very well aware of it. So I'm thinking, what can I do? And we didn't have a projector and YouTube and all that, but we did have a big old TV that sat in the corner there with a VCR. And so I put in the VCR and I say, we're going to watch a video right now, which was going to be later on in the class period, but I put it in the front, and then I just sat down up there, and I'm trying to fix it in the dark, okay?
Oh my God.
And I couldn't get it to work, but I have some safety pins, and so I took care of it. And that was my...
And nobody said anything?
No, Mr. Rice didn't even know it until now. Year 15. And we're back.
We're back.
Okay.
Mikey, your.
This is the last. Okay, this is the last one. I don't think I have anything else to add other than, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy teaching?
10.
10.
I don't have to. This is the most. I love being a scientist, and I love the intellectual aspects of being a scientist, the problem solving and all that. I really did like that. But teaching fills needs that I had that I wasn't even aware of. The connecting with young people. I really like people your age. I'm sure that comes across. Some teachers really don't like teenagers. I like teenagers, and I like this age group. And so I enjoy that. I enjoy imparting the information. I have fun teaching, and I enjoy having my students have fun with me. I promise my students at the beginning of the year that this will be the most fun science class they've ever had. And if they don't even like earth science, they'll still enjoy coming to class. And I think I make pretty good on that.
Definitely.
And that's it. You can have fun and learn at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And I want that to be, I want that to come across. I am serious about what I do.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I do are planned. The things that I do are well thought out. They may seem sort of effortless and on the spot. Most of it is not. It's practiced and practiced and practiced. And so that's why I know how to tell a joke, and I know how to, I know what to do. Okay, so part of it is performance. But this is the most fun activity in my life, and I will sorely miss it when that time comes that I retire. But I'm not planning on retirement anytime soon. As long as I have my health, I will be having fun here, teaching another 100 students every year.
Well, yeah.
Mike, you ready for our super
Okay, so,
So
we
here's
got
the
super
super question.
secret extra credit riddle.
questions? Okay. Who is never hungry during Christmas?
Who is never hungry during Christmas?
Yes.
Never hungry during Christmas. I'm sorry, I'm just not coming up with something. It's late in the day, and that's my excuse.
The turkey, because he is usually stuffed.
The turkey, because he's usually stuffed.
We'll just put that in
Okay.
before, so act like you got it. Crop it out, put it in. Okay.
Okay,
and
okay.
The final question.
The final
This
question.
one's definitely my favorite.
What building has the most stories?
What building has the most stories? I would say it would be the Library of Congress, because it's a library, and libraries have books, and books have stories. So the Library of Congress.
It's the library. It's
A
a library, but I'll
library.
give you the
That was a great answer.
I'll give you the
Ding.
extra credit point.
You get 1 point extra credit, Mr. Frank.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
one
take it.
extra credit
I'll take it.
point. All right, I think that's all the questions. So
That's all our questions that we
Unless-
have.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you.
Thank
for
you. This is amazing.
coming
This is
up
great.
Great
Extremely
answers.
memorable.
So what is this for? This is your English class? Is this Meg's?
Yes,
ELA,
sir.
yes.
This is Meg's.
Where we were
Okay.
decided, when we were going over in class, I asked Mrs. Brown if we could work with people from out of class, because she said that we could do it before on another project. I didn't take it at that time. I texted Mikey because we're actually planning to do our
the
Earth Science project after this.
Right after this, we're going to my house and filming that.
So I asked him, Mikey, do you want to do the ELA project since we're doing the Earth Science project? He said, yeah, sure. What would it be? I said, what if we interview Mr. Flick about him and about his life and his classroom and whatever? He said, that is one of the greatest ideas you've ever had.
It's
So
amazing.
you're these questions you came up with.
Yep.
Okay. How is this going to be? Is this going to be shown in class?
Possibly.
It
We could
might-
probably
she
show
said
it
she-
in both
yeah,
classes.
yeah.
Okay. I didn't say anything I'm embarrassed about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think so.
You can't have much of a. You can't
yeah,
be
you
too
can't
self-conscious.
Really, yeah, I was just going to
No.
say,
Be a
being
teacher.
a teacher, you can't really
You,
have
you
that.
can't. I tried to tell Mr. Kuhn that. He was very self-conscious.
That's okay.
Yeah.
He's still a little new at this.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for
You've been doing it
15
for
years.
enough time to know, like, to have the experience and know what to do, but not enough time to
And the
be,
judgment
like,
about
bored with
how
it.
far to go and what to say and what not to say.
Yes.
So you
Right.
don't know.
Yeah.
Students want to know about teachers they like. They want to know everything they can about the teachers they like.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you
And,
definitely
um,
provide us with a lot
More
of
than enough
information.
But I talk about my family, but I don't tell you a lot about my wife and daughter,
Yeah.
except
You talk about them, but
in
not
general.
like-
I talk about them, but not about them.
Yes.
And that's a way to preserve their privacy but they're an important part of my life.
Yeah, but
How
still.
can I be authentic and not reference these two people who are so important?
Mhm.
So
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Again, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. That
It
was amazing.
It was really great.
I'm looking forward to seeing seeing it myself.
We are too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to putting it together after this.
Why have you been making top knots like a sumo wrestler over there?
All right. We're good. Okay.